We're now live.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Let's wait a couple of minutes for everyone else to join. We're still a couple of minutes before the starting time, so hang on with us for a sec. Still a couple of minutes. We have a lot of people joining. We're still having a few people in queue to join. We have a lot of people coming up. Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning or evening if you are in another part of the world. Welcome to Visionary Talks, Corporate Vision Show, where we invite amazing experts that will tell you what is coming next in every industry. And they will tell you because they are the ones building the future. We have a very international show today. As I can see, we have people joining from all over the world, including Spain, UK, Italy, Brazil, Peru, the USA, and even Singapore, where I think it's probably about 2 in the morning. So the world is going through very testing times, times that are testing us all. In many ways, COVID-19 is accelerating technology adoption and digital transformation. This is happening in many industries, from healthcare to education, the subject that we're going to be discussing today. So the focus of the show is about 2 main topics that are crucial for any organization that is undergoing disruption or about to be disrupted: digital transformation and cultural innovation. As we will see, corporate culture is playing a key role in stopping many digital transformation efforts in its tracks. The case of VASTA that we will see today will shed many good tips on how they manage a successful transformation to digital and become a public company. I am Nicolas de Santis, CEO of Corporate Vision, and I have 2 amazing guests here with me today. Mário Ghio Jr., the CEO of VASTA Platform, and Andrés Cardó, board member of VASTA. I have had the pleasure of working with Andrés in the past in a lot of innovation projects in media, education, and entertainment. And Mário has an incredible experience in education. He was the former CEO of Abril Education, and he's been Director General for Croton and Estacio de Sa as General Director of Academic Development. We want to make the event of today very, very, or as interactive as possible. So I'm going to explain a few features of the Zoom platform that you will be able to use during the show. Just also a reminder that this event is live streamed on YouTube and that you will be able to watch the recording later if you thought you had missed anything important or want to get our insights again. If you're joining via YouTube, you will be able to ask questions via the YouTube chat that we're going to be monitoring. You can also follow us on social media at Corporate Vision, on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to post anything, please use the Corporate Vision and Visionary Talks hashtags that we have on screen now. During the show, you will be able to chat with us on any other attendees via the chat feature. And we are going to be posting opinion polls during the show where you will be able to vote on key questions relating to tonight's topic. At the end of the show, we will have a Q&A session. And during the show, you can think your questions or send us your questions, and we'll have them prepared for the end of the show to ask our 2 main guests. So just to remind you, at the bottom of your screen, you'll have the 2 main buttons to control your experience with us today. The chat button, which is the one to chat with us, and the Q&A button to ask questions. So also, you will see that within the event is being recorded. This is the agenda that we have for today. We are going to discuss how culture is a major barrier to digital transformations, how education is being disrupted, the vision behind the VASTA platform, and we will finish with key tips from Mário and Andrés for successful digital change. We will end the show with questions for the audience. Let's start with point 1 of the agenda, the problem with organizational culture. So many of you have seen this phrase before: culture eats strategy for breakfast. As I mentioned earlier, organizational culture is a key problem of digital transformations. This phrase, culture eats strategy for breakfast, by guru Peter Drucker, describes the problem of culture in business, but provides no solution. We can see in many studies, in this one particular, Capgemini, we can see how culture is the #1 barrier or hurdle to digital transformation. And we can see that this is a problem across different countries. In 2022, organizations are projected to spend nearly 2 trillion on digital transformations. But culture is still a major barrier for change. 64% of chief information officers who are in charge of digital transformation efforts cite it as a key problem for them to be able to implement change. And the reason why culture is a problem is because we don't know culture very well in business. Current approaches about managing culture are obsolete and old-fashioned. In fact, culture is not well defined in business. It is defined usually or described as an iceberg where most of the culture is hiding under the water. But this type of approaches are not very useful or solve the problem of culture in digital transformations. This lack of culture management led us to create a more useful and clear definition of culture. We developed the corporate vision system as a tool to define culture into 10 manageable components, and the components show the interaction among the issues relating to a culture. We use the corporate vision system in all of our projects and workshops to create a common language to strategically define a future vision, new business models, global branding strategies, and innovate corporate culture. I take this opportunity to announce our coming book, Corporate Vision System. The book will be out middle of next year, and it describes our tool in detail on how to define a new vision and innovate organizational culture for the future. This leads to our first poll question of the day. The poll question of, is your organizational culture a barrier to innovation? I will give you 30 seconds to answer this, and we'll see the results at the end. We still have a few votes coming in. Here we go. 10 more seconds. Very interesting what I can see coming up. Some of you I can see are taking your time to think about the question. Very good. So we're going to close the poll. High turnout of voting of up to 75. And I'm going to share the results with you. And yes, 51% tell us that their organizational culture is a barrier for innovation. It's very similar to the other poll that we saw from Capgemini. So it is a big barrier to innovation. Now moving on to point 2 of our presentation. Basically, education is a very traditional industry and is getting disrupted. And we've all seen disruption in many industries. We all use Netflix. We all know the story of how Blockbuster was disrupted by Netflix. What we rarely speak about is the role that Blockbuster's culture played in its own disruption, or shall we say distraction. So this same is happening to other companies and industries like education. It is one of the most traditional industries that exist and is currently going through dramatic transformation. But there's been an education revolution happening. Let's look at some of the disruptive ideas, people and companies that are changing education. I don't know if you heard of Khan Academy, but this was a pivotal time in remote education. When in 2004, a guy called Salman Khan, an MIT graduate from his home bedroom in Boston, USA, started teaching his cousin in New Orleans maths using YouTube videos and a pen table. A few months later, thousands of kids all over the world started to watch his videos as they were giving them better explanations than their teachers or textbooks. This showed that something was wrong in education, and it was a very ripe industry for disruption. Khan Academy is now a fully fledged education platform and a not-for-profit. It has delivered over 1 billion lessons, yes, billion with a B, and 100 million people use the platform every year. Then we had the emergence of the MOOCs, the massive open online courses, where people can take amazing online courses and even receive degrees on what they study. These are just two examples of disruption in education that we can see. There's many more. I'm not sure all of you have heard of Masterclass, but I recommend it. It's a great app. You can buy it as subscription or as individual classes, and you have the best people in the world teaching you great subjects. So who is better than Martin Scorsese to teach you filmmaking, or Natalie Portman to teach you acting, or Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue, to teach you creativity? Yes, that is what I thought. I myself can't wait to do the Timbaland masterclass on music production and beat making. So what is going on with universities? During the pandemic, a Harvard student has sued Harvard because it did not lower the tuition fees, although all lessons were being given online. That case was followed with lawsuits to 50 other schools. Students demanding refunds as universities and schools thought they could get away with not lowering prices during this crisis. The party was over. And this disruptive trend has been extending to colleges all over the world. But in the USA, 25% of colleges seem to be failing in the next 20 years, according to new research. This digital disruption, compounded by falling demographics, is destroying their old business model. So we have an issue of reinvention. We have traditional establishments like Harvard being unbundled, being disrupted. Some startups and companies are attacking the elite college experience by replacing one by one the critical functions that universities once served. The traditional university, in this chart, in the case of Harvard, we can see dozens of startups that are taking piece by piece the business and customers of their undergraduate and graduate programs, and all of its associated services. With its 5.5 billion in revenues and its 42 billion endowment, even Harvard must be worried. In 2019, right before COVID arrived, Harvard had a surplus of 300 million, but in 2020, it had lost so far 138 million in revenues. So even the traditional giant Ivy League organizations are suffering from the entrants that are arriving to take pieces of their business. And these new businesses are arriving with new business models. we can see one of the examples that we saw at Harvard. Lambda is basically an online coding school attacking Harvard's computer science programs. And at Lambda, you pay no tuition until you are hired. Let's see how many universities can match such an offer. There's also big tech companies like Facebook that want a piece of Harvard's lunch. Facebook Campus has recently been launched and is going after monetizing the time and planning of all campus students. We're going to launch now the second poll. This question is, the school my children go to uses technology and data to improve the experience and performance for parents and students. So I can see some of you telling me that this poll is not coming up. We have an issue with the polling. Sorry, the poll is not appearing. So we are almost at the point 3, so we're going to go straight into the third point of the agenda, where we're going to talk about VASTA and the incredible digital transformation story that this is. I welcome again Andrés, Cardó, and Mário, Ghio. And please, Mário and Andrés, can you tell us a bit about the K-12 education marketplace? And welcome again.
Thank you, Nicolas. Let me please make a brief introduction before we listen to our main speaker, Mário Ghio Jr. Education, and particularly schools, have been very conservative, and along decades, everything more or less has remained the same. None of the basic fundamentals have suffered a dramatic change, meaning the physical structure of the classrooms, the infrastructure inside the schools, the profile of the teachers, and of course, the textbook. Nevertheless, there are two countries in which, because of its size, because of its scale, innovation was deeper, changing the dynamics of the markets: the US and Brazil. Some important features these two different countries share are: they both have the biggest purchasing programs of textbooks in the world. They both have big national champions in the industry, big domestic players. We can see in both of them integration between the industry, the industrial players, and the capital markets, and the presence of private equity firms. We can find in both countries very hard competition between schools and the appearance of school networks. Along the 2000s, players in both countries have aggressively acquired technological and digital companies. One very important milestone in the history of the products of the textbook in the industry globally was the launch of Wiley Plus. Wiley Plus was a very important milestone because for the very first time was created in the industry a coherent ecosystem of content with a learning management system, digital content, a assessment tool, and the textbook. The learning systems, or sistemas de ensino in Portuguese, were founded in Brazil 50 years ago by companies devoted to training students to cover the academic gaps between the school and the exams for admission to universities. And no more than 5 years ago, SOMOS, now rebranded as VASTA platform, and Grupo Santillana started innovating in the commercialization of legacy textbooks, creating ecosystems inspired a lot in the Wiley Plus content model and sold through subscription model. So no more than 5 years ago, the hybrid models appeared. Most recently, two Brazilian companies, firstly Arco in 2018, and by the end of July 2020, this year, in the middle of the pandemic, VASTA successfully made its IPO in Nasdaq Stock Exchange. An amazing achievement considering the very difficult circumstances that we all have globally because of the COVID-19 crisis. From my point of view, this IPO for VASTA is just a consequence, a natural step, a turning point, integrating with capital markets in order to move forward rapidly through a roadmap for a business model and digital transformation. That started 3 years ago with the acquisition by Cogna, a very important player, Brazilian player, listed in the Sao Paulo Stock Exchange. Mário, would you please continue with your presentation? Thank you.
Amazing accomplishment.
Thanks, Nicolas. It's amazing to participate here in this show and to share on behalf of our more than 2,000 colleagues here in VASTA, our experience, our knowledge with you, okay? So moving to the next slide, please, Nicolas. That's our mission, guys. We are a company dedicated to help private K-12 schools to become better schools in terms of quality, in terms of profitability, and for sure to help all of our partner schools to pass through their digital transformation, right? So we are in the business not only to pass in our digital transformation, but to help our partner schools to pass through their digital transformation, right? The next one, please. As Andrés mentioned, we are a very traditional player in Brazil. Our first brand has more than 100 years. We were basically, a couple years ago, we are basically a company dedicated to sell traditional textbooks or printed books in a, old school way. And we decided to transform completely our business, not only in order to move to the subscription model, as Andrés comment, but also to become a completely digital company looking for a platform as a service. And we decided, and now we are serving more than 4,200 partner private K-12 schools and serving in a daily basis 1.4 million students. And in the next slides, I will cover how we transform our company from a traditional publisher into this platform as a service that now we call VASTA, okay? We can go to the next one, please, Nicolas. Yes, we can go to the mandala slide, the next one. So
yes,
what we are providing to our partner schools, it's a completely package of services, educational services, right? We call that a platform as a service because our clients, they can choose what makes sense for them. Usually, we start a relationship with a new school offering what we call core education, which is comprised by core content, digital learning, and teacher training. So core education usually is the first contract we sign with a private school. That's why we like to say that's our landing point. We have many brands, many different brands addressing different pedagogical philosophies, target prices, which means that we can make business with any kind of school in Brazil, anywhere in the country, right? Everybody is always with our digital learning platform named Plural embedded. I will cover deeper in a few slides more. And after signing the core education services with the school, usually we will start implementing new services in a private schools in the area we call complementary solutions, right? In Brazil, even a private schools usually is a part-time school, which means that we can help the owner of the school to transform his school into a full-time school if introducing English, social-emotional programs, STEAM programs, and so on, okay? That's our expanding area. Core education is the landing area, complementary solutions is our expanding area, and we also have in our platform many services regarding not the teaching side of the school, but I can say the main activities that every school has, such a collection, this kind of stuff. So we also have in our platform as a service, we also have the digital services area, providing ERPs to schools, students acquisition, digital student acquisition programs, e-commerce, and so on. We like to say that our digital services is our sticking area or retaining area, right? So if you consider everything integrated, that's our platform as a service. So and important to mention that the beauty of having a platform is that as you identify a demand, you must fulfill that demand, bringing a new services to your ecosystem. And we have three ways to do that. The most traditional is always developing, right? So we develop and plug our English program named English Stars. Sometimes we don't have internally the skills to develop a new service, so probably is the best, is the moment when you have to buy a company, is exactly what we did with Mind Makers in the beginning of this year, a company dedicated to coding, robotics, and we bought Mind Makers and plugged it in our platform. And sometimes you don't have the skills to develop. Sometimes you can't find another company to buy and plug in your platform, but it's the time for partnering and plugging. That's very important in our strategy. It's super important to have good partners, especially international partners, is what we did with Matific. Matific is an Israeli company, the best in class in the whole world in terms of math gamification. And we did a partnership with Matific. Matific is plugged in our platform in a revenue share business model, right? So I would like to use this slide to say that work in digital transformation many times represents that you must understand what you can do and what you can't do, right? That's why I super agree with Nicolas when Nicolas at the beginning of the presentation put a slide saying digital transformation and culture. In my opinion, and according with the experience we have in VASTA, digital transformation, there is more to do, there's less to do with technology and there is more to do with a mindset, right? So digital transformation and culture, digital transformation and mindset, in my opinion, are the same thing, right? I can explain better more. So after creating this platform as a service, serving in a daily basis more than 1.4 million students, came the pandemic. So let's see what happened during the pandemic is in the next slide. I please Please remember that the name of our digital learning platform, where students and teachers are connected, right, is named Plural. So through Plural, we offer to our partners schools all the live classes, pedagogical content, all the assessments, tutoring, everything that a school needs to be in the digital world or to become a digital school, right? That's what Plural does. And you can see at your left, the dark pink curve is the web traffic of Plural in Brazil, in our educational sector, right? So Plural has today more than 50% of the Brazilian educational web traffic. So it's a huge success. We can comment on the right side of the slide that we are serving 1 in 4 students in Brazil. We have, in a daily basis, more than 100,000 teachers connected, serving 1.4 million students today. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we could see in Plural more than 8 million live classes every day. This morning in Brazil, we had 72,000 live classes. By that, I mean that our partner teachers, they are giving classes to their students, right? So it's a huge amount of classes, live classes every day. So we have been helping many schools spread all over Brazil, you know, operating during the pandemic, and we are for sure learning a lot during this period, right? So Plural today is the most relevant digital learning platform in Brazil, which was excellent because was part of our value proposition that you could see in the and Plural for us now, it's a way to generate more businesses, right? So we just launched last Friday, we launched Store, which is a marketplace, not for our proprietary solutions, but for third-party solutions. You can think that our Plural Store has the role of iTunes for Google, for instance, right? So our Plural Store is a way to use our platform to connect third-party services with our teachers and our students. Moving to the next slide, Nicolas, please. I can show that we have many interesting services in our Plural Store. For instance, in STEAM, we have Discovery Education, very interesting products for science. Matific, I've already commented, gamification in math. Labs is dedicated to virtual labs. Plural Olímpico is proprietary, is dedicated to educational Olympics. Tindim is for financial education, Dream Shaper for project-based learning, and finally, in English, we have a partnership with Carnegie Speech and Geppetto. Important to mention that usually they are, international companies trying to enter in Brazil, and they decided that the best way to enter in Brazil is through our platform as a service in a revenue share business model. Usually, our platform or our company, VASTA, stays with 70% of the revenues, and the partner with around 30% of the revenue. So that I am comment on that because Plural Store is the next step of having a platform. The first step is having the platform, as I mentioned with Plural. And the second step is creating a way to your platform be available even for third parties, right? So Plural Store for us was a huge development since the IPO. Moving to the next one, please, Nicolas. Another important development we did here in Brazil, and that one was not obvious for us in the beginning of the pandemic, given that we serve private schools. In our heads, we thought that every family that has kids in the private education, probably they had devices enough for all the kids to keep studying in the digital schools, right? But we saw quite the opposite of that. We saw many parents raising hands and saying, look, guys, I am super okay with the digital school you are providing, but I don't have devices to all of my kids. Some of my kids are studying with the smartphone, others we are sharing computers with them. And we said, okay, we got it. We must innovate, creating a way to everybody has access to the device, but more than that, to have access to the completely integrated digital school. So with Lenovo and Google, we had a partnership dedicated to create this learning book. And at the end of the day, the learning book is the complete environment for teaching and learning. There is also the Chromebook included, but included in a as a service way, which means that parents, they are not buying anything, right? They are just using the learning book for the period they need, okay? So important for parents and even more important for schools in this new hybrid moment that we are about to begin when the schools start to reopen, right? So learning book was a very fast and very interesting innovation. We were planning to sell 5,000 students in the learning book, and in 15 days of the marketing campaign, we had more than 20,000 students that are buying or they are signing the service of the learning book, right? So this is another step in our digital transformation. So we had the platform, we had our platform open to third-party services, and now we have also the devices that can provide, an excellent experience about everything we do, okay? Yes. And my final slide in terms of digital transformation, the next one, it's a slide that I am especially proud to comment here in our show. Nicolas, if you could go to the next one, please. Yes. I want to explain just a little bit of patience. I would like to share with you an educational concept that was discovered by Jean Piaget in the middle of the last century. So Piaget discovered that for teaching anything to anyone, you need two things. First, you need a content. Without content, you can't teach anything. But you also need to develop a cognitive process, right? So at the end of the day, teaching anything to anybody is using a content crossed with a cognitive process. For instance, everybody here knows the Independence Day of your country. The date of the Independence Day is a content, and remembering that, it's a cognitive process. So we teachers, we are always concerned in finding the right content and to use that content to develop a specific cognitive process, right? But Jean Piaget, Vallon, Vygotsky, Piaget, Foucault, all the great influencers in the educational world, they never had the opportunity to see our brain working, our brain learning. So in SOMOS, in VASTA, we have a specific department named Science in Learning. So we have neuroscientists bringing neuroscience in order to improve, in order to accelerate education, right? We have many initiatives in the field. I mean, we have many initiatives being used every day in the classrooms or in the plural. But I brought to you just one very interesting initiative we have, which is using the headband, that sensor you can see. with the students, and as long as the students is using that sensor, we are measuring 12 different brain parameters, right? We are measuring the brain waves. So we know if the student is using the headband, we know if the student is focused, if the student is paying attention, if the student is losing attention, if the classroom is losing attention, if the classroom is with me in the classroom, or if the student is in the other side of the web in our digital learning platform. And this specific program has helped a lot to understand how students, how they learn, how they engage in the content in the classroom, right? So very, very interesting approach. We discovered, just to give you this example, we discovered that on average, a high school kid pays attention only for 6 minutes, 6 minutes. And usually the class has 50 minutes, right? So students are paying attention the first 6 minutes, and then 44 minutes, teachers are trying to engage students. But we discover with the help of this approach that if the teacher changes the methodology, they renew the attention for 6 minutes more, right? So I am talking to you for 6 minutes. After that, we can promote a debate. After that, we can solve some exercises. So through our science in learning developments, we discover that a teacher must prepare not only a class, must prepare 8 mini classes of 6 minutes. Doing this, they will have the maximum engagement of students, they will engage, and they will learn much more, right? So that's the kind of innovations we can bring to education. I like to say this is the deep innovation in education. And I always say during my lectures for teachers, for owners of the schools, for parents, that neuroscience for education is like the electricity when we had factories with, steam machines. So electricity changed everything in the factory. Neuroscience will change everything in the school. But we only can use neuroscience in a scale because we have plural, because we have all the technology we have been developing in the last 3 years. Okay, so Nicolas, I guess those are the main features I would like to comment, and we are here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mario. It's been fascinating. I can see questions coming in. We're gonna look at that in a minute. I'm gonna try and use the poll system again, see if this time it works. Here we go. The question that we have now for the polling is, your industry or organization's business model being disrupted by new startups. So I've started the polling. We have about 20 seconds to answer. This question is really about the startup world trying to take a piece of the education sector or any other sectors. Not everybody in this show today is about education. Few more seconds for the poll. Yes, Mario, you've been talking about platforms as a service, neuroscience, virtual reality, technology clearly is, and Brazil, I think Brazil has been an innovator in many ways in education systems. I think all this that I'm getting for the Q&A side is going to be very interesting. I'm going to share the results of the poll about, is your industry or organization business model being disrupted by new startups? And the answer is, we have had yes. The answer is yes, with 61%. I guess there's a few people, 36% not being disrupted, but the majority of companies, yeah, startups are going after everybody else's lunch. And I think we've arrived to point 4, because I wanted you to, because of what you just described, to give our audience, what are the key tips for successful digital transformation? I think you were touching upon these two things earlier in your discussion about culture and mindset and so on.
Yes. Can I jump on? Can I jump here, Nicolas?
Yes, please. This is for you and Andrés to give us tips about, especially about the disruption side of things and successful digital transformation.
Great. I guess I have a few ones here, and Andrés, of course, can build on my opinion. So I would like to start first with the 3 statements, right? The first one is digital transformation is not an option, right? It's not an option. If you are not concerned about digital transformation, your business will die. It's a matter of time, will die. It's not your decision to be, digitally transformed. The second statement that I guess is very important is you can't buy your digital transformation, right? It's not a matter of going to a mall, going to a shopping center, buy a product, install in your company, and that's it, done. It's not like that. It's not, hiring a consultancy and saying, look, guys, you will digital transform me. It's not like that. It's a mindset. You have to create every day. You have, to be a preacher of your new mindset every day. Just to give you an example, we are here in the middle of the discussion of the new budget. And we can see in the budget discussions that many guys in our company are still trying, to defend the analog part of the business that we are trying to disrupt, that we are trying to evolve. So this is why digital transformation is a mindset. Budgets is a good way, if you are looking for digital transformation, to see if you are going in the right direction or in the wrong direction. If you are not choosing to quit some things that were important in your past, you are not in the digital transformation, right? And finally, Nicolas, there is a word that I don't like, especially in education. I guess disruption is not natural, it's unnatural. I like evolution, right? Many times we are looking for the disruption and then we are forgetting to be better every day. I guess digital transformation, there is more to do with evolution than with disruption. Even the companies that have disrupted in their businesses, they starting being better every day in some specific points of the company. And I would like to share with our audience that keep on track with being better every day, right? To keep, evolution is the name of the game. After some years, there is a disruption.
So I wanted to make a point here because it's very important. You made a point. Your second point was, and a lot of big organizations hire huge management consultants because they think they can buy digital transformation. And that's why many fail, correct? It's because you cannot really buy it.
Yes, I fully agree. As I said, it's a mindset. You gotta have it inside, installed in your whole company to reach the digital transformation. Otherwise, will be a project, will be a discussion, in all the strategic plannings we all do in all companies around the world, but will never become, a reality in your company. That's it.
Yes, so we're going to move now to the Q&A session, where we can answer the questions from the audience. At this point, I'm going to disconnect the slides, and we can basically speak with and answer some of the questions. Some people are asking me, when are you bringing VASTA platform to the UK?
Yes, that's a very good question, but we are a humble company, we believe that our first international step should be in Latin America, right? I guess we are solving Brazilians' problems, but that are also the same problems schools are facing in Peru, Chile, Colombia, and so on. So for sure, we are looking for, as an international expansion, we are looking for LATAM as our first step.
Great. We have another question. Basically, do you also see platforms becoming the norm in public schools as well as private?
Yes, I pray every day to see this, right? But what I saw, at least here in Brazil, but I guess it's the same reality in the rest of Latin America, is that during the pandemic, we are widening, the gap between students studying in private classes in private schools compared to those studying in public schools, right? Here in Brazil, unfortunately, our public leaders, they were not able to join everybody with the same challenge, which is offering the digital education for our kids in the public education. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. In our case, all the content we are producing in our company, we are giving for free for everybody that can connect to our company using our platform or others' platforms. So it is our way, to help Brazilian public students to pass through this difficult moment. But unfortunately, we are not seeing the governments, especially, they looking at the discussion with a good vision about the future.
We have some questions. Let me see, coming from somebody's awake at 2 a.m. in Singapore. Let me see. Yes. What do you see? How do you see the use of virtual reality advancing education, and how much of the curriculum you think will be taught in virtual reality or augmented reality?
Great, excellent question. I think it's a tool, Nicolas, right? I see virtual reality, augmented reality just as a tool, right? If we have the right tool to show the right content and trying to create the right cognitive process, will be fine, right? But many times we see that some tools are used much more for, engaging than learning. Our business is not engaging. We are not in the entertainment industry. We are in the learning business. So many tools will be useful in education if we have the tool, the content, and the cognitive process we are trying to develop in our kids. If we join everything, will be great. And we do that. We are already using many of those features.
Nicolas.
Yes, Andrés.
Yes, I would like to make a comment.
Please.
Ghio has explained how about the importance of the technological platform, the learning management system, plural in this case, and the difference that content, premium content, the different kind of contents mean for the offer to schools, and the sophistication that in the recent past has happened with the portfolio of services, of digital services. But one thing that has impressed me a lot along this year during the pandemic is the integration, how the role of the publishing house has dramatically changed. Because in the case of VASTA platform, the integration between the previously called provider and now as part of the supply chain, as part of the school, in a seamless way, in a natural way, has been, from my point of view, a critical factor of success Could you make a comment about this, Ghio, please?
Sure, Andrés. I guess it's a great vision about what is education, right? I like to compare a school or a learning system. I like to compare with a body, right? You have the lungs, you have the heart, you have the brain, you have the liver, but in a systemic approach, everything must be integrated. Of course, the heart is important, but doesn't matter if you have a heart or if the lungs are not working, right? So trying to make all those pieces, working together is the name of the game. And regarding to Nicolas' questions, virtual reality, augmented reality, they are tools. They are just like a feature. If you connect the right tool with the right content, with the right, cognitive process in the right moment for a specific student, a miracle will happen, right? I always like to say that technology is helping us teachers to see each student, because a school was not prepared to see each student. A school is a collective challenge, right? When I was giving a chemistry class, I was giving my class to 50 students, right? But today with the headband, I see if Nicolas is paying attention in me, if Nicolas is motivated, if Andrés is engaged, right? If Andrés is not engaged, let's use a virtual reality tool in order to see if I can engage Andrés. And after that, Andrés will learn more, right? But everything must, work together as a system, as the organs of a body.
Well, listen, this is fascinating, I must say, especially because you're describing them as tools, and many people think they're more than tools, but how you use the tools and how you described it is extremely useful. We don't have time for more questions, but I want to thank our guests, Mário, Ghio, and Andrés Cardó, for being with us today and giving us so many insights into the future of education. I want to also say that that's it. This is our show for today. I am Nicolas de Santis. This is Corporate Vision, and we hope to see you in our next show of Visionary Talks. Remember to be strong in these testing times. Be safe, and we will see you next time. And good night. Thank you, Andrés, and thank you, Mário.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicolas.
Thanks.
Thank you.